What smoking on my dragons, divine, righteous, almighty greats, overachieving, never slacking. Today we are flying to Scotland. I keep getting a lot of comments that say, check out Scotland, check out more Scotland. So I figured I'd hop into Amazing Castles of Scotland travel guide. And yeah, let's do it. Original link in the description. Here we go.
Throughout its history, Scotland has been known as the country of 1,000 castles. Discovering them is the best way to learn more about Scotland's tumultuous history and the people who lived there in the past. This is World Travel Guide, and today we will visit some of the most famous Scottish castles. The Eileen Donan Castle is one of the most popular castles in Europe and an important Scottish landmark. It is without a doubt one of the Highlands' most visited tourist destinations. Eileen Donan is situated in a truly stunning location, strategically perched on its own tiny island with a view of the Isle of Skye. The island and castle are named for Donan, an Irish priest from the 7th century who lost his life in the year 617 on the nearby island of Eigg.
The way that that's set up, it reminds me of the Thousand Islands on St. Lawrence River up there at by Canada. It definitely reminds me of that. It would be perfect right in there. Thousand Islands.
Donan traveled to Scotland's west coast in order to spread the Christian faith among the locals. In the first half of the 20th century, the castle was rebuilt as a family home. The bridge was also added at this time. The bridge is as much a tourist attraction as the very castle itself. The majority of the castle's magnificent interior halls are now open for visitors to explore. You can admire Jacobean artifacts, exhibitions of weapons, and works of fine art. The beautiful banqueting hall can be used to host romantic weddings. The island is surrounded by wildlife, and visitors often see dolphins, birds, and otters.
Thank you. I didn't know you could get all this stuff on Uber Eats.
Man, it's still so magical after all these years. All these years, everything's still so magical. Ain't that incredible?
The Edinburgh Castle is a huge fortification and arguably Scotland's most iconic landmark. For ages, it has dominated the skyline of the city. This imposing castle has been constantly adapted to meet the changing military requirements. And over the years, it has been attacked 13 times, whether successfully or unsuccessfully, via stealth or siege. The wars of Scottish independence in the 14th century and the Jacobite.
Looking at that hill, it would suck trying to attack that place, especially when you see in certain movies or shows where sometimes they'll have those buckets of acid or hot something, some type of hot liquid that just burns people. I would not want to attack anything where I have to go up or climb up. Not fun. Not fun.
Uprising of 1745 both involved Edinburgh Castle. The National War Museum of Scotland, the Stone of Destiny, the 1 o'clock gun, and the Scottish Crown Jewels are all kept in the castle. The Edinburgh Castle has a fascinating building history. St. Margaret's Chapel, its oldest part, was built in the 12th century. James IV built the Great Hall approximately in 1510. The Regent Morton built the Half Moon Battery in the late 16th century, and the Scottish National War Memorial was built after the First World War. You can go for a walk around the castle's exterior, which includes the cemetery. You can also purchase a ticket and go to the castle, look around the various rooms, and discover more about Edinburgh's past. The British royal family is the owner of a sizable estate residence in Aberdeenshire, known as Balmoral Castle. It is close to Crathy, which is a village 15 kilometers west of Ballyder and 82 kilometers west of Aberdeen. Since 1852, Balmoral has been one of the royal family's residences. The castle is a prime example of Scottish baronial architecture and is a top category building, according to Historic Environment Scotland. The old castle was demolished immediately after the construction of the new one in 1856. Today, the Balmoral estate extends over 20,000 hectares, thanks to additions made by various royal family members. It is a working estate with some herds of...
I wonder if that's the same place that Princess Diana would have interviews. I'm curious. Somebody let me know in the comments.
Deer, Highland cattle, and ponies. The castle gardens were initially made accessible to the general public in 1931. Today, they are open every day from April through the end of July, when Queen Elizabeth II arrives for her yearly visit. The only area of the castle that is accessible to the general public is the ballroom. Located in South Ayrshire on Scotland's west coast, Kian Castle is a castle with a beautiful view of the Firth of Clyde. Public access is available to this clifftop castle, which is located in the Kian Castle Country Park. When traveling through Ayrshire, you simply have to visit Kian Castle. The walled garden, the clifftop walkways, and the castle itself are all worth a detailed exploration. Built between 1772 and 1790 for David Kennedy, the castle was a creation of Robert Adam. The building was given to the Scottish National Trust in 1945 by the Kennedy family. The castle has a highly regal interior. You are allowed to visit a wide number of rooms, as the tour includes 10 of the most significant rooms. On warm days, you may take a stroll down to the Swan Pond and have a picnic on the vast grassy area next to the lake, while enjoying some delicious ice cream. A fantastic adventure playground for kids with a sizable wooden fortress is right next to the Swan Pond.
PGA Tour live on ESPN+.
It's so interesting seeing castles, like real castles, because they've been, a big part of fairy tales and things for so long that we still, the fact that we still got them around is just magnificent to me.
Stirling Castle is without a doubt one of Scotland's most notable castles. It is situated in central Scotland on a strategically significant rocky outcrop by the River Forth. From the late 11th century until the early modern era, it served as an important royal seat. In the late Middle Ages, particularly during Scotland's Wars of Independence from England, it was also the scene of numerous battles and sieges. The fortress has witnessed numerous sieges, murderous plots, the deaths of 2 kings, and other significant historical events in Scotland.
Long story short, it was Game of Thrones over there.
Over the years. In its later years, the castle served mostly as a military outpost, but it has since been restored to its former splendor when it served as the royal residence of the Stuart monarchy at the height of its power and majesty. The Regimental Museum of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders is housed in the King's Old Building of the castle, which is now under the management of Historic Scotland. Temporary exhibitions about the castle's lengthy and famous history are frequently held on the upper floor of the palace structure. Eastern Scotland's Glamis Castle is located close to the community of Glamis, not far from Angus. The public is welcome to visit the residence of the Earl of Strathmore and Kinghorn. The Lyon family has lived in Glamis Castle since the 14th century, albeit the current structure is primarily from the 17th century. Elizabeth the Queen Mother, the wife of George VI, spent her early years in Glamis. Princess Margaret, their second child, was also born there. The castle is located in the open Angus countryside, some 8 kilometers southwest of Forfar. One of Scotland's most attractive castles, it is never fully symmetrical from any perspective. As close to a perfect Scottish castle as you can conceive, the castle contains a large central keep, conically roofed corner towers, and a variety of projecting turrets. The walled garden and the Italian garden are just a few of the grounds and gardens that encircle Glamis Castle. The monster of Glamis, a horribly malformed infant born to the family, is the subject of the most well-known mythology associated with the castle. In a narrative by Virginia Gabriel, the monster lived its entire life in the castle, and after its death, its suite of chambers was bricked up. Located within the area of the castle, Lake Calder is said to have been home to another monster. About 3 kilometers south of Stonehaven, Scotland's northeastern coast is home.
Damn, that's crazy. Those tales of monsters. I mean, are people being born as? I believe it. I believe it. I definitely believe it.
Home to the
There's some truth to that.
In medieval fortification known as Dunor Castle. Although the majority of the remaining structures date from the 15th and 16th centuries, the site is thought to have been fortified in the early Middle Ages. Due to its advantageous location and formidable defenses, Dunor has been a significant place in Scottish history up until the Jacobite uprisings in the 18th century. The honours of Scotland, the Scottish crown jewels, were hidden in Dunor in the 17th century from Oliver Cromwell's invading army. For 8 months, a small garrison resisted Cromwell's troops and prevented the destruction of the crown jewels. From the nearby village of Stonehaven, you may take a beautiful walk to the castle. What's your favorite Scottish castle? Leave a comment and let us know. If you loved this video, hit the like button and subscribe. You should also check out other travel guides on our channel.
I'll tell y'all this much. It was a whole lot of war going on back in those days, right? Like the stories that we hear, it's like, I know they were a lot worse than what we be thinking. That's why, like, when you watch the shows from back in those days and you see how horrific a lot of things were, oh man, like right now I'm Googling why were castles built? The main reason castles were built was not for luxury, but for defense and protection. Another reason for the construction of castles was to remind the people of the land who was in charge. In medieval times, the king or lord owned all the land and gave pieces of it to people to use. So, in all reality, I love castles. I think they're definitely magnificent. Looking back at history, but in all reality, a lot of kings weren't the best people. Kings of the earth were not the best people. A lot of them definitely took advantage of the people and vampired off the people in a sense. So that's the downside to it when you look at history. But man, oh man, it just makes you think, like, outside of those castles, usually when you go to the bottom of the hill or across the bridge is when you see the poor people, the people who don't really have that much. It reminds me of today. It's like in my hometown, when you go up the hill, all the way up to the north side, all the way up, mansions. I mean, just beautiful mansions. But when you go down that hill, you ain't gonna see no mansions. That's where you're gonna see the regular folk, right? And it's still like that today, that mentality, I guess, of power on the top of the hill. Regular people, y'all get to the bottom. But, man, when I hear about, certain things with castles, it takes me to Game of Thrones. It takes me to, remember Ramsay Bolton in Game of Thrones and what he did to Theon, how he named him Reek, and, man, I mean, whew. I know these castles be having spirits in them. I know they do. I know. But with that being said, that was Amazing Castles of Scotland. Original link will be in the description. Much love to everybody, and I will be back with more soon. Enjoy your day.